Hey everybody, Matt with Freestand here. Got a special guest on the show today, Tim Van E. He is out in Houston, Texas, and Tim has a really cool business called Flavors on Fire, which he started about 6 months ago. But they do virtual cooking classes, and yeah, I'm very excited to talk to you about that. How are you?
Yeah, doing very well. Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me, first of all. Joining you from Houston, 75 degrees outside, nice and sunny. So this is where I do most of my classes in my outdoor kitchen here, and excited to talk about my business.
That's awesome. So in terms of the virtual cooking stuff, I guess the first thing we could start off
Yes.
with is, what types of classes do you offer? And like kind of maybe what types of food do you,
Yeah.
do you cook and everything like that, if you could describe a little bit.
Yeah, great question. So the name of my company is Flavors on Fire, right? So I enjoy cooking with fire, whether it's on my green egg or some other kind of open fire cooking vessel. What I have seen though, right, starting these classes online, doing a lot of them for businesses, for larger groups, is not everyone has access to a grill, or during winter, if you're doing a class with people in Minnesota, they don't really want to go outside and grill if it's negative 20.
Right.
So the menus have kind of evolved, right? It started really with grilling heavy centralized menus, right? So a lot of steak, we might do like tacos, maybe pork chops, and then a couple of sides. In winter, baking was really popular. So lava cakes has been an absolute hit.
I love
Doing
lava
lava cakes, and
cakes.
they're
Well,
fantastic,
well,
right? So
yeah.
yeah,
Sorry, go
doing
ahead.
lava cakes and a couple of cocktails. So it really spans the gamut, right? Whatever people are looking for. For example, Cinco de Mayo is coming up. There's a couple of groups that are doing nachos or making those from scratch, doing margaritas with it. It really depends on what groups are looking for, and I'm trying to keep options open and just have a wide variety of menus.
That's awesome. And so you started this 6 months ago, and you started
I
off
did.
virtual and in person, and now you're
Yes.
okay, and you kind of kept that hybrid model throughout the entire time, right?
Yes, I would say virtual definitely has been very popular. Probably about 80% of my business has been virtual. The other 20% is in person. Being in Texas, there's definitely groups here that are comfortable having friends over to their house, and doing in-person cooking food experiences. So I do some of those. What I have seen over the past couple of months is companies are starting to get back into the office, right? So I'm starting to get some requests for, hey, can we do a welcome back to the office party, send our employees some ingredient kits that they can use to cook something while in the office, or put a lunch together. So we're definitely seeing an uptick there, but I don't think virtual is going to go away anytime soon. I think it might be more of a balance, right? Like a 50% in person, 50% virtual, as
Mhm.
opposed to the past couple of months, which have been very heavily on virtual events.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a lot of different, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. But for a lot of
Yeah.
different industries, I've been talking with a bunch of different people, and we've kind of been trying to predict. But a lot of the people I talk to are in fitness, right? Fitness mostly
Yes.
is in person.
Yes.
Cooking, though, as long as TV's been around, there's been cooking
Yep.
shows. Like this
Yes.
has been something that has been done through a screen for years.
Yes.
So I feel like this is something that really works, and the live component of it, I
Yes.
like to hear about that a bit. But I feel like that's amazing because you get to actually interact with you live, and you get to instruct people.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's a good question, right? Because what prevents someone from going on to YouTube and finding an awesome recipes for tacos and just making that themselves, right?
Yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's the interaction, right? Being able to talk to me or to one of my virtual chefs and say, okay, hey, can you repeat that quantity? Or, oh, I actually don't have, skirt steak, but I have hanger steak. Can I still make carne asada with that, right?
Right.
Having those questions and being able to kind of go back and forth is super helpful. The other thing that we are kind of different, as opposed to other companies in, is the ability to ship ingredients, right? So
Mm.
let's say you're a company, you want to do a promotion dinner for 10 of your employees, right? You get in touch with us, we figure out what the menu is. You might want to send a bottle of wine, send ingredients, right? Maybe it's a nice T-bone steak and, potatoes au gratin. What we then do is build a box and ship that to people on 2-day shipping with all the ingredients pre-measured. People unpack that. We do the class together. It's very hands-off, hassle-free, right? And we just ship to people's doors directly, which a lot of companies especially are very interested in. So that's something that I have found, I think, starting this business, right, as you evolve and try to find your product market fit, right? Where do you kind of fit in the spectrum? We're probably somewhere between, traditional cooking class where you have to shop for all your ingredients yourself, and then, a shipper of ingredients like HelloFresh, right? And we do both. We send all the ingredients. We have an interactive cooking class, and it's just been very successful so far. So
That's awesome. And in terms of like the live components still,
yeah.
it's one, being able to like ask you questions, of course, like, hey, does this look right? Am I burning this? What temperature
Yep.
should I turn this up to? Maybe my oven's not good,
Sure.
as as strong as the one in the recipe. So there's a lot of
Sure.
these kind of nuances that can be, I
Yeah.
feel like you can guide people through in this.
Absolutely.
And also it's just fun to like talk to somebody,
It is.
right? Like
It is. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, just to have like a chef, like, virtually in your kitchen. That is like so cool.
Yeah, we can kind of go back and forth, right? And what we like to do as well is at the end of our experience, we keep the Zoom call open, right? So people can enjoy their food together. They can kind of socialize outside of all of those work meetings that they have. Talk about something else, right?
Yeah.
Than what they typically talk about, and just have a good time, right? And that's definitely, I would say, the nature of the food experiences that we do. They're very laid back. You don't need a professional kitchen. All of the kitchen tools that you need to make the food, you typically have already, right? But even if you don't, we give you a list of what you need a couple of days before, so you can go and grab a cocktail shaker if you really need one and want one. Trying to keep it easy, low entry for people to get in, have some fun, cook some great food, have fun with their colleagues. That's what it's all about.
That's amazing. And is it mostly companies? Is that mostly who you're targeting, or is it, groups of friends that have just put this together for a party? What is kind of the dynamic there?
All of the above. I would say companies, probably the bulk of my customers, right? So they're looking to, instead of a first of the month happy hour in a bar, right, where they're located, they're trying to replicate something like that online. So that's the bulk of my customer base. But then there's definitely groups as well that want to celebrate a birthday party, right, with their family members. I've had bachelorette parties that have been virtual. So it's really a variety of different groups. But in general, what I have found is people like to come to these classes with a predefined group and people they know. When I started this business, I opened it up and said, okay, everyone just come in, right? Even if you don't know each other. And that wasn't really successful. I think people still like to be in a room that's kind of like a trusted space, right?
Yeah.
Especially when they're cooking something. They don't want to show, their burnt steak, not that they actually burn, but their burnt steaks to total strangers. So that's been more successful for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. So you started off kind of with just like, hey, whoever wants to join the class. We'll kind of do this randomized community way. And then you were like, I don't know if people like this that much. So it's all pretty much now, you need to put together a group ahead of time.
And that's just proven to be the most successful thing, which I really enjoy about, being an entrepreneur coming from corporate America. Before this, I was a consultant for a very long time, working for a big company. You have your products, you have your value proposition, you sell something in the market. starting your own business, it's kind of, you're trying to figure out, okay, what are people looking for? This, let's test it out. It might not work. Let's pivot to something else. So the first couple months definitely was a lot of navigating, trying to figure out what that fit would be. But yeah, groups it has definitely been very, very successful and popular. Yep.
So you were a consultant beforehand.
I was.
Let's talk a little bit about that. So what
Yeah.
made you make the transition into doing what you're doing now?
A couple of things. I think COVID definitely helped in, having to be forced to work from home as opposed to traveling. But traveling was definitely a big component as well. Having a family, a couple of small kids, a spouse that has a demanding job as well. As a consultant, typically you travel every week from Monday to Thursday. You sleep in hotels 3 nights. You eat meals in restaurants, which is fantastic because I love good food. But missing out on a lot of family life was definitely one of the drawbacks for me, right? So after about 13 years in consulting, I was like, okay, do I want to keep doing this and go all in? Or do something that I'm truly passionate about, which is something with food and teaching people how to cook better food. And it took a couple of months for me to get to that point. But in the end, I'm just happy that I made the decision to go follow my passion and do this. Yeah.
That's amazing. I think COVID in general kind of gave everybody kind of that time to think about what they were
Yes.
doing, because it gave you a break, and you're like, now you're, as opposed to traveling 3 to 4 days a week, now you're sitting
Yep.
at home. You're like, wow, I have a lot more time. And
That's
yeah,
right.
it kind of gave
Yeah.
everybody a clean slate to think about things, which was good. Obviously a lot of bad came out of it, but some
Yeah.
good as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
So, and in terms of the different types of classes, well, first of all, I guess, how long are they? Or it all depends on the recipe?
Yeah, it depends a little bit on the recipe. So yesterday I did a class for 70 people, um,
70?
70,
Wow.
70,
Wow.
which was the 2021 graduating class of a big university in Philadelphia. Um, I'm not going to name names, but there's a couple there. So we did a 45-minute class there, during which we made 2 cocktails, a gin cocktail, bourbon cocktail, and we made lava cakes. So that's kind of the shorter end of the spectrum, 45 minutes. When we do something that's a little more evolved, right? Let's say a main course and 2 sides, or an appetizer, a main course, and a dessert. It ranges up to, an hour and a half. But typically it kind of stays in between that time period. And that's another great question. I started with longer kind of food experiences online, very similar to the ones that you would do in person, right? So in person, it's easy to do a 2.5 hour cooking class, right? People are very engaged, they're on their feet, they can chat with each other. Virtual, I started out with some of those longer ones, and they proved to be a little bit too long. So I shortened them, right? Made the menus a little more compact, a little shorter. Because at the end of the day, when people have been in Zoom meetings for their entire day,
Yeah.
they don't want to be on Zoom for another 2.5 hours cooking food, right? So you want to keep it short and sweet, get a lot of value out of it, get some delicious tasting food, and between 45 minutes and an hour and a half is kind of what the sweet spot
Sweet
is.
spot is. Very cool. And the virtual chef. So you have other chefs that are working under you? Is that right?
I have, yeah. Part of this this model, for me to scale up, is actually the ability to get some other virtual chefs, right, to take on classes for me. Now that I'm seeing a lot of demand in the market, there's groups that want to do something at the exact same time as other groups, right? So you need to kind of multiply yourself, or clone yourself to a certain extent. So yeah, definitely bringing on additional virtual chefs, bringing on additional people who do shipping for me. I've seen a lot of growth. Very lucky to have seen that, and that's why I need to hire some additional people, and have brought on some folks as well.
That's awesome. And
Yeah,
how are you marketing yourself? Is it mostly on
yeah,
Instagram? Or are you reaching out just through, just kind of direct marketing? Is it word of mouth?
sure.
Kind of what's your approach there?
Yeah, a couple things. So I tried out basically every social platform and used a little bit of budget to see how effective those platforms would be. Started with Instagram and Facebook. What I have found is those platforms are really good to get your message out, but not necessarily have someone buy a class, right, or sign up for a class. So the way I use those platforms right now is to post the food that I make, maybe some behind the screens kind of pictures of, hey, this is what we're shipping today, right, and we're sending it out later today,
Right.
just to get people a feel for what the company does. The two ways marketing specific that have been really successful have been Google Ads, first of all, and then LinkedIn, right? And Google Ads, if you would search for virtual team event, right, or virtual cooking class, I would pop up somewhere at the top of the screen, which has been really successful, especially being in Houston. If someone in New York is looking for an online cooking class,
Right.
kind of want to make sure that you land somewhere at the top. And then LinkedIn has been really popular as well and effective, right? So connecting with a lot of potential buyers in organizations, corporate organizations, that I might do one of these classes for has been good. Yep.
And on LinkedIn, are you running ads on LinkedIn, or are you just direct messaging people saying, hey, this might be a company event for you?
I did run ads. What I found is for someone to really buy something like a cooking class, they need to see an ad a couple different times, kind of go back to maybe to their VP or superior and talk about it, figure out if there's budget, right? So for me, it's kind of cost prohibitive to put a lot of ads on LinkedIn and put it in front of people multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
What I found to be more effective is just go very targeted to specific people with specific role profiles, and have a discussion with them and just hop on the phone, talk about, hey, what are you doing? What are you looking for? How do you engage your employees? Can we do something together? No? Well, maybe in a couple months from now, right?
Sure.
But yes, okay, let's figure out what budget you have, what menu you have, or you're interested in, and let's make this work.
That's awesome. And in terms of the amount of clients that you've been able to land so far, obviously
Yes.
you're pretty early. I mean, this is, only 6 months in, but it seems like you've had some success. What are kind of like the numbers there, in terms of like the amount of companies that you've worked with so far, and like that?
No, that's a good question. So I think if you look at my numbers, the first couple months, I did, 5 to 10 about classes per month. That has doubled every single month as I've gone along. So I think this month we're on schedule to do about 40.
Wow.
40 different experiences, right? And then the other interesting trend or metric that I'm seeing is classes are getting bigger and bigger as well, right? So early on, I might have done a class for 6 to 8 people. Now, as I just said, there was a group yesterday we did for 70. There's multiple ones coming up over the next couple of weeks that are like 50 plus. So both more customers and also bigger customers and more people.
That's awesome. And are you congratulations. It sounds like you're doing a really good job.
Thank you.
And it's a really cool thing that you're the first person. I've been trying to figure out all the different people that have, different types of virtual businesses. At least have some virtual component to it. And I was just randomly, I was just like, there must be virtual chefs out there, right?
Yeah.
And then I think I looked up.
I saw some of your previous interviews and I didn't see a food business in there. I'm like, well, there's more of me, but definitely, obviously I'm doing it the best way. But,
yes, of course.
No.
There's a reason why you're the first one we're interviewing.
That's right.
But okay. And in terms of charging, do you charge per head? Is it kind of just like, do you charge per head, or is it, kind of depends on their budget? How does that work for the company?
Definitely depends on budget, right? So I try to get to that point pretty early in the conversation, just to see if I can do it, and B, what kind of wiggle room we have around, different ingredients that we might be able to ship. So we try to do an all-in price per person. So that includes the ingredient kit, the shipping of that ingredient kit, as well as the food experience itself. And the reason for that is a couple months ago, I had everything split out and I said, okay, this is the ingredients, this is the shipping, this is the actual class. I think it confused people more than just gave them transparency. So just having one number per person is what I'm going with right now. Yeah.
Got it. And generally speaking, ballpark, what is it per person? If I was a company I wanted to sign up with,
Yeah. So it starts as low as probably $75 for the easiest and smallest menu with a larger group, right? So that's probably the bottom. And then it goes up to 200, 250, depending on the menu. And at the top range of at around 250, that includes, a custom bottle of steak rub. It includes, 20-ounce bone-in ribeye. It includes a bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon, right? It's all shipped to you on 2-day shipping through UPS and FedEx. So that's the really high end, I would say, product. But then we have everything in between, right? If it's let's say we're doing tacos, that's somewhere in the hundreds range, depending on what kind of ingredients you like to include in there. So I try to intentionally keep it broad, right? So it kind of appeals to a lot of different people. And if your budget is not that large, right, we can do something that's smaller, still fun, might be a 45-minute type of food experience, and put that in front of people.
That's really cool. And so that's like 75 to 250 a head per person.
Yes.
And that's the range if you're ordering and shipping them the food.
Correct.
And
yes.
then there also are going to be classes where you don't need to get the food shipped to you. You could go and get ingredients at the store.
Sure. Yeah, we can do that too. So those are a little more cost effective, right? They're $4.99 for one of the standard menus that are on my website. You can book those directly on the website. You get a Zoom link automatically. You can invite as many people as you want. And then what we do is send a shopping list to that group that they can go and shop for ingredients themselves, show up at the actual event, and then we cook that meal that's been predefined.
And that's $49.99, you said?
$499 and that's a one-time payment for however large your group is.
Yep. Okay, got it. So $49.99, got it, flat fee. Okay.
Understood. Yeah, $499.
Yep. And are you doing more of those, or do people kind of taken more to the send me all the ingredients and take care of everything?
The latter. Yeah, the latter for sure. I have found that we as a human beings like convenience. So taking that step away, right, having to go out to your shop and get your own stuff, or ordering on Instacart is a lot of people opt for that. So they just want the ingredients shipped to them. Yep.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
And I just, whenever I look down to the right, I'm not ignoring you. I just have my pad of paper there.
Fine. Yeah.
So, and so you had 40 classes in the last month, you'd say?
Yep.
Okay. And would you say it's 80% companies and then 20%?
Probably. Yeah. Yeah. There? I think that's the right split. Yep.
And then what's the dynamic in terms of the amount of people that are doing the flat fee versus the prepackaged everything?
Flat fee is a very small percentage. I would say it's probably 2 or 3 out of the 40 that do the flat fee. Yeah.
Okay. And the virtual chefs that you're working with, are these people that you've met before? Well, I guess my first question is, how did you get involved in cooking in the first place? Because this was obviously a side passion, right? To consult.
It was. So yeah, no, definitely. I just love cooking. Growing up in Europe, I lived kind of in the epicenter of a lot of great food, right? Close to France, close to Germany, Italy, Spain. Yep. So going on vacation every year, I would just taste amazing food, try to recreate that at home. I don't have a formal culinary training or background, but I've just cooked all my life. I've been around great cooks and love to entertain, right? So combining all of those things together, with my consulting background as well, that's how I started. And then doing training on top of what I'm doing already has been really cool as well. Whether it's butchering or molecular gastronomy, or I did a couple of Harvard classes on chemistry around cooking. That's been really fun too. So definitely upping my skill as I go along. But then when it comes to hiring additional virtual chefs, I'm definitely looking for people that have some kind of a culinary background or have an experience, entertaining or leading groups, right? If it's like workshops or trainings or stuff like that, with a passion for cooking, that's kind of what I'm looking for in other people to join my company as well.
That's awesome. And how many virtual chefs are currently working with you?
I have 2 right now.
Two.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
In addition to me. Yep.
and are these chefs that are working like another job as a chef and then they do this on the side? What's kind of the dynamic there?
Yeah, it's definitely a side job right now, right? Because it's a couple of hours a week
Yep.
that they dedicate to every single food experience. So either they're in the culinary field or they work day jobs, right, at an office. One of
That
my
is so
chefs does
cool.
that as well. Yeah, so it's definitely how I started, and then at some point I'm like, okay, it's too much for me to do on the side, and that's when I quit my job and started doing this full time. And that's the plan, right? As we grow more, start doing more of these food experiences, the in-person ones, but the virtual ones as well. I want to get to a point where I can supply a steady stream of work for someone to be able to quit their own jobs as well and start doing this full time.
And in terms of the food, where are you
Yeah.
getting where are you getting these amazing steaks and stuff? Is it some place that's local to you? And then
Yeah, no. So steaks we get from a company called 44 Farms, which is about an hour and a half away from my house here in Texas. They do fantastic grass-fed, no antibiotics ever beef. So we get it from them. It's prepackaged, vacuum sealed, frozen, and we ship that out to people. And then other ingredients, we get it wherever it's freshest, right? So if it's cilantro, we might get it at a farmer's market. Really depends on the ingredient, but we source from different sources or different stores and vendors,
right.
and then ship that out. And really the key, right, is like, okay, how do you provide high quality ingredients to people, and something that they might not be able to get in their neck of the woods, that has a little bit of Texas or Tex-Mex kind of flavor to it.
And then when you're shipping this, if it's something that's like a steak, do you have to
Yep.
use like dry ice to ship it? Or are you using like a specific carrier that takes care of that for you?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's not dry ice. You could ship using dry ice, but then it has to be all food that's vacuum sealed, because dry ice in combination with fresh ingredients doesn't really work that well. It actually spoils, the herbs and maybe other ingredients that are in the box. So what we do is we freeze. We have ice packs in the packaging. We have commercial liners in there that are insulated as well, and then we ship on 2-day shipping to all of our customers, right? So it gets there before stuff starts thawing out.
Gotcha. So that 2-day shipping's got to play a role in that cost then, because that's got to be, I mean, if it's a
Yep.
heavy box, it's probably got to be like,
Yes.
15, 20
Yeah,
bucks a
shipping
box.
definitely is that's a large cost component, shipping, right? Especially if it's 2-day. If we can get away with 3-day because the contents are not perishable, then it drives the cost down a little bit. So the menus that are easier to ship are a little bit cheaper. The ones that are harder to ship because they need to arrive frozen are a little more expensive. Yep.
Gotcha. Very cool. All right. Well, Tim, I think we covered it all for the most part. We're coming up on like 35 minutes here.
Yeah.
How do people find you? What's your website?
So my website is flavorsonfirehouston.com. I'm on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. Not on TikTok yet, but I might do that next.
That would be great for you, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. So come find me on my website. Happy to do something custom for you, whether it's a company you're trying to get together with family. If you're in the Houston area, hit me up as well. We can do something in person, which is fantastic. And that's probably my favorite way of connecting with people and teaching them how to cook great food over fire.
Awesome. All right. Well, Tim, I'll make sure to include all that in this. I'm also going to do a little blurb and write up on you as well.
Great.
So I'll put all the links in there. But otherwise, I think we covered it all. So thank you for coming.
Fantastic.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, and we'll talk soon. All right.
Thanks, Matt.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
All right.
Have a great day. All right.
Flavors on fire. Peace.